Welcome to the Bend Don't Break podcast. We are powered by The Source, Ben's locally owned media company and weekly newspaper. This podcast is our eddy in the rushing waters of local journalism. We are glad that you're taking some of your time to listen to us chat with the people who shape our local community. Support us through our member program at bensource.com.
Thank you to our presenting sponsor, RE/MAX Key Properties, a family-owned full-service real estate brokerage specializing in residential, luxury, commercial, new construction, and ranch and land properties. Their new state-of-the-art facility at 42 Greenwood Avenue is a modern, collaborative space and the new home of the Bend Don't Break podcast recording studio.
I'm Aaron Schweitzer, the producer of this podcast and publisher of The Source. Thank you for joining us today. We have Joshua Savage here. He is an avid traveler, writer, and educator who turned his passions into a full-time lifestyle. Originally a Tennesseean. We're going to have to talk about that. His family sold their possessions and began traveling extensively. When they landed in Bend, Oregon, they fell in love with the Pacific Northwest and made it home. A teacher for over 20 years, Josh has taught almost every age group. He currently teaches Spanish at the Bend Language Institute and writing at Northwest Community College. Josh has written fiction novels, children's books, short stories, 2 editions of a popular travel guide, 100 Things to Do in Bend. Now, his newest book, Secret Bend, published late last year. Through his books and his business, The Ultimate Scavenger, he helps promote entertaining and educational ways to learn about areas throughout the country, especially here in Central Oregon.
Yep.
And what's not on here, intrepid Source Weekly contributor.
Right. Just had an article out today in this issue.
Very cool. So, Josh, thanks for coming. Tennesseean? Is that really what they say?
I don't know if I coined it. I probably didn't, but I heard it somewhere. But I lived in the northwest corner of Mississippi,
Okay.
which is a stone's throw from Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And basically I was back and forth my entire life. I mean, literally it's probably a shorter distance to where I lived to Memphis than from here to Redmond. And so just kind of back and forth, you know.
So it is. So you are actually a Tennesseean.
I am actually a Tennesseean.
Yeah. Because I thought you were just referring to all of the residents of Tennessee as Tennesseans.
No, I claim both states. I really do.
Yeah.
And you can probably hear the accent.
I find Mississippi to be a little more interesting than Tennessee. That's just me, though. I know there's cooler towns in Tennessee, but Mississippi's just weird.
Well, I mean,
did you write a weird book about Mississippi?
I would like to. Actually, somebody beat me to it. But who knows? Maybe one day.
Yeah. I once fell asleep on a bus coming back through the South. I'm originally from Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
And so I was heading home, and I woke up. I was in Texas, and I woke up. I was in Mississippi. And, man, I knew I was in Mississippi. I couldn't understand the people, and I'm from the South.
Yeah. I mean, there's different dialects just in Atlanta's different than Mississippi. Mississippi's different than Georgia.
But Mississippi has the heavy sugar. Like sometimes, I mean, you can't really understand them if they're rolling.
It's true, especially the deeper south you go. Yeah. I mean, I'm an English teacher. The college, Northwest Community College, I get a lot of students from deeper down in the South.
Okay.
And teaching writing, you ought to see some of these emails and stuff that they, or when they have to call me or talk to me online or something. It's wild.
So how does a Tennessean end up in Bend, Oregon?
I started traveling when I was a little bit older, and I got to the point where I realized how much else was out there.
Yeah.
And so we got to, my daughters were younger, and we thought it'd be a good time to just make a move or just take that, big leap.
Yeah.
And we basically traveled for about a year just on the road, jumping from place to place. And
what year was that?
2017 is when we left, right? Okay. And so we were...
those were the good times.
They were really good.
Yeah.
Even the difference in Bend, we got here in...
the late teens.
Yeah, we got here in 2018, and I it's amazing how big of a difference it is just in the last 7-8 years since we got here. But when we landed in Bend, I had been kind of road schooling my daughters, and we said after a year of traveling,
road schooling
instead of home.
Another great word. You're a writer for sure.
Instead of homeschooling,
right.
because we were on the road. I mean, everything from hotels to pools poolsides, a lot of field trips.
Yeah.
And when we...
I wonder if the studies are in on road schooling success rates. I mean, homeschooling's off the chart, so where does road schooling fall in?
I don't know. I mean, my daughters, I feel like they're pretty worldly now. They've learned quite a bit.
Right.
They've been to a lot of ice cream shops and a lot of playgrounds.
Right. Yeah, roadside rest stops, cool rest stops.
Yeah, national parks, all that good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. So, are you you're currently teaching now? What's you're going to teach Spanish?
Yeah, so I teach Spanish just right down the road, literally, at Ben Language Institute.
Okay.
And then I teach writing at Northwest Community College. So it's actually in Mississippi. So basically I teach online.
Okay.
But I have to go back every semester just to give my exam. So I get to go back, see friends and family. Cool. Yeah, it is. So it works out.
How did you retain that? Were you working for them before you?
Oh, yeah. I've been working for, I want to say 15 plus years. Yeah. I started doing nights. I taught high school and middle school. I taught Spanish and social studies. And I started teaching there at nights. And then they moved me to online many years ago. Been doing that since.
How is teaching online?
When I first started teaching
and I don't
online,
think anybody from the university is listening, so you can.
No, they'll never hear this podcast. Yeah. They don't even know I'm out here.
Right.
I still give an address to.
Right.
But yeah, for a language, because I originally started teaching Spanish online, it was tough. It's really tough to get that across. But the writing, up until recently, until AI came, which is a whole other discussion, it was relatively easy and just better. Yeah. But you're starting to see a lot of changes and stuff, and we're having to adapt and, kind of pivot with assignments and everything else. So,
yeah, what is the biggest challenge with teaching remotely? And you're not teaching Spanish remotely; you're teaching English.
Yeah. So the writing courses, I guess.
You can still spot the AI.
Oh yeah, easily. And what I've had to do is kind of personalize a lot of the writings.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been a challenge. Well, to be honest, for a lot of people, I was telling you about the Deep South, they don't really have access to the internet, and so they have to go to school, and you have to find specific times that they can get there, and just a lack of know-how to use technology on top of remedial English.
Right.
Because my classes are remedial, and so that's kind of a challenge.
Yeah.
And now throw the AI in there, so it adds a extra layer of complication.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what. So much of writing is hybridized with AI now, and I don't think people even realize how much of the stuff they're currently reading is AI.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about like your books or your newspapers.
No.
But a lot of the stuff that you're encountering online, the abbreviated paragraphs at the top of your stories, your intro paragraph, all that stuff, you can tell right away.
Yeah.
It's not human.
It is. You can tell, I'd say 9 times out of 10, there's specific words that just stick out, like additionally, therefore, just a lot of that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Hidden gem.
Megan and I always comment about how everything comes in threes. You'll have the you'll need to go to the store, the market, and the something else. And
the grocery.
There always will be everything comes in threes with AI.
Huh, that's interesting. I might have to look out for that one.
Yeah, look out. You'll see it. And a lot of bullet points. Like the bullet point seems to have
big time
surged in use now.
Yeah, just all of a sudden, it's like they like it a certain way.
Right. Yeah. What does that mean for you as a teacher? What will end up happening?
Well, I'm hoping that the students. I'm not one of those teachers that says, okay, you cannot use AI.
Yeah.
I don't want to be against it because I believe it has a lot of, perks, a lot of, it's like a double-edged sword pretty much, just like any kind of technology. And so I'm trying to incorporate, ideas. Again, I have to personalize the stuff so I can get a feel for their writing.
Right.
And then once I know their writing, then I start integrating those AI assignments, which kind of allows me to say, okay, this is how you use it.
Right.
You did this wrong. Show me both examples, your example and the AI example. So you kind of teach the students how to use it in a better way,
right.
More positive way.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, my son recently graduated from the Savannah College of Art and Design.
back in Atlanta or
Savannah.
Georgia. Yeah.
He didn't go to the Atlanta campus, but he was actually in Savannah, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I got to visit him there, and I love that town.
That's a cool town.
But he, in his design classes, AI was, they taught it. You had to do assignments that included it.
Yeah.
And it had to be, in a lot of places, it was a jumping off point, or you had to be creative with it. And it was eye-opening for me, because obviously if you're paying for someone to go to school, you really don't want them hitting ChatGPT for their diploma, you know. But no, it kind of opened my eyes to the fact that it's like the calculator, you know. It's just like, when I was going to school, you couldn't use it. You know, there was no calculators. We were hand smacked if we.
And now you have one in your back pocket.
Yeah, much. Now it's like, of course they're using it. I don't think anybody can do math without it anymore.
Yeah, a lot of people worry about certain skills that are going to disappear, but I think other ones will emerge at the same time. So,
well, I'm trying to be nice about it, because they're going to be our bosses. They're going to be employing us. So I want to get on their good side now and say, look, I was using you all along.
Or just stay your own boss.
Right, or stay your own boss and hire the AI. But, well, you got a book. It's not exactly new at this point, but it seems to be popping up, because it's what got our attention. Because we realize we're taking Mr. Savage for granted here. He's got a new book, and we should at least chat about,
Yeah, I believe it came out September, maybe October, something like that. And then it's a spring reboot. I know the publisher usually reaches out.
Yeah, I think we got the spring reboot.
Yeah.
We were like, cool. We should talk to him about it. One thing I will say, because I spent a good bit of time with it today, it's really cool the way it lets me, having been in this community for 30 plus years now, see Bend as a tourist.
Okay.
Because there's stuff in here. A lot of these things that are weird, wonderful, and obscure. I know the backstory of, especially because we've been doing journalism around it.
Right.
And I remember when it started, and it was like, there's all the hype. Like, one of them you got in here is the Observatory, which is just in my mind a given. Yeah, Worthy's got a telescope, and it's the Observatory, and isn't that cool? I remember when it went in, but mentally I had not revisited it, and then I was like, that is really weird.
It is.
And people aren't gonna.
Where else in the United States or in the world, probably? Yeah. There's a brewery, have a, resident astronomer.
Yeah, I think that's the. Kudos to you with your eye, because you are without. I would have a hard time putting this in, because I'm like, who's going to find that interesting? Like, of course I know about that,
Well, you get people too who are like, well, you should have put this in there.
Yeah.
And then you get other people who are like, why is that in there? So you get both sides of the spectrum,
Yeah. But how do you begin to, how long does it take you to pull together? There's a lot in here.
That one took a little longer, because it's more based in like, going out and researching, and there's history and culture in the background to try to tell. Like, it might have a little bit about the Pilot Butte Inn and stuff. Yeah. And so it took more research than the 100 Things did. And so it was over a couple years. Actually, they gave me a deadline, and I had to push it back a couple of times, because I've got all kinds of things going on, to be honest. My hands are so I was like, but so it takes time.
Yeah. I flagged a couple of them that jumped out to me. There's the Observatory one, but there was the stylish statues.
Yeah.
Which, I'll show up for the people who can actually see. But again, like for me, I see it all. It was one of those ones where I take it for granted. I'm like, they always screw the logger up. They always put like stuff on them. I like the Valentine's Day. They had the little.
Well, just the roundabout art by itself is unique. I remember when we first got here, we stayed over in Wood River Village, like right by Farewell Bend Park. And my daughters were always just waiting to see how the statue was dressed. And so, they're like, well, it's Valentine's Day. So are they going to, put some hearts on them or something?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's people who don't live near there. And it's not actually on my ride home, but I'll hear it got decorated. I'll just take that diversion and go.
And I always wondered myself who did it. You know,
Yeah.
so a lot of questions come to my mind, and I'm like, okay, let's find out.
Did you meet the people who did it?
No, I mean, most of these people, some of them I talk to in person. Well, quite a few I talk to in
Yeah.
person, but sometimes I just called or emailed people.
Yeah. Well, it was the I mean, it's right in line with the googly eye phenomenon that
Yeah, yeah.
happened that went national, and I mean, we have that tradition of having fun with the roundabout art.
Yeah.
Art on top of art. The Phoenix roundabout got
Yeah. And the roundabouts are starting to spread.
Yeah.
They opened a couple in the South now, or at least in our little town, freaking people out.
it freaked them out. Yeah, and again, I can remember. I mean, in some ways, I remember when they first started putting them in, and everybody got to vent their anti-European feelings for a while and tell us how we don't want to be France. And
Ooh, those are way different, though. I mean, you try to drive some of them in France or Rome.
oh,
I mean, hundreds of cars. It's
I
crazy.
support it. Yeah, because
Yeah.
where was I? I was like, this would blow people's mind. Well, they got them on Highway 26 or 20 now.
Yeah, bigger ones, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
those are massive, and I've almost been hit 5 times. So we're definitely not Europeans in that fashion.
Not yet.
And then what was it? Oh yeah, this one I love, the Old Stone Church. So for those of you who saw the sign thing, we've since fixed that. We're back. But we were talking about the Old Stone Church. We used to manage that as a venue, a music venue.
Oh, I heard about that. The art, like an art place. Yeah.
Yeah, we had we did theater in there. We did a comedy show. People did quinceañeras in there and birthday celebrations, and it had a pretty rich history as an event venue. And then Peter Geiser, who had owned it, got out, you know, and that's when it went to Webcyclery. And I have not been in it since it became Webcyclery.
They just had a fire like within the last couple of weeks.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I don't know how much damage it did, but it was, you know, and yeah, I mean, that's the kind of places I like to have a history behind them.
Well, and again, it was one of these things where I was like, yeah, of course, it's Webcyclery. There it is. It's on the right.
Yeah.
We saw it on the way coming over.
Walking distance,
It wouldn't,
right?
yeah, it wouldn't show up on my radar, you know. As I mean, it's just not. You just start taking these things for granted, which is why this book's so great.
Yeah, I've noticed, especially people who have been here a long time. Every now and then, what I like to hear is when long-time locals say, you know, I didn't know about that, or you know, it's been so long, I didn't know the history behind it, you know, or I haven't been there in ages. So, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. What are you working on another one? What's your what's on the future?
Well, with Ben, I really like writing fiction more than anything, but it's so hard to get published, you know.
Yeah.
Do a lot for the Source and different magazines. As far as Ben related stuff, not a whole lot. I could always maybe write a second edition of that or a third edition of the other one, but
Pretty cool.
you know, I like to try to focus on different things sometimes. So
You can do what Ellie Watterson did. You just take the columns that you did for the Source and compile it into a book, you know, and then it's repurposed and it looks way better.
well, it's going to take a lot of time to do that, but eventually maybe.
Yeah, that's true. So what's next on your? Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about your scavenger hunts, because we worked with you on that as well.
Yeah.
For a time.
Yeah, a couple
okay.
of times. Yeah.
I was telling Megan, because we were revisiting briefly the scavenger hunts and how incredible they should be and huge,
Right.
you know, and we did them, and they were people had a really good time. I mean,
Yeah, not as many people as I like signed up, but you know, it's kind of hit and miss sometimes.
right.
I've got them set up now where I try to do one big one for locals every year and change the clues up because it makes it a lot more fun. And then I've got several online, like on Expedia and TripAdvisor, and I've managed to basically they're all over the Pacific Northwest. I still got one in Memphis.
Really?
Yeah. And
Do you go back there and do it personally?
No, so these, I've got it set up, and COVID actually pushed me in this direction.
Yeah.
You know, which was kind of good. It gave me a way to give it to them digitally. I send them the clues.
Right.
And of course they have my email, they have my text information if they want, and they'll just text me or call me if they want extra clues or
That's incredible.
tell me when it's done and stuff.
Right.
And it's just expanded since then.
Yeah, I mean, we got involved with you on the scavenger hunt during COVID.
Yeah.
And I remember it was one of those things where I was part of a publisher's thread around the country, and they were talking about we were all trying to figure out how to survive COVID. You know, how can we scrape together a few nickels when considering we're all shut down? And scavenger hunts popped up, you know, because you can do it remotely. Right. You can do it. You can social distance it. You just need your little pod to go around.
Yeah.
And
kind of like that Pokemon Go, you know.
Yeah, like Pokemon Go. I heard a good little bit about that where someone was asking, comedian was asking if anybody gone off a cliff lately, because that was all the thing, right? Pokemon, don't play it.
People walking.
You'll be looking, and you'll go right off the cliff.
Yep.
You know, and it's like that's such nonsense. But
you have to give them a waiver before they sign up.
But I'm impressed that people have picked this thing up digitally. Like it's a thing.
It is. I mean,
so where you're doing one in Mississippi, you do it here.
So I've got one in Memphis, Tennessee. I've got at least 3 or 4 here. I created one for Brian's Beer Brews and Beyond.
Oh, you did?
So we had a brewery scavenger hunt beforehand.
Oh, that's great.
And I've got like a kids hunt. I've got a downtown and a citywide, Redmond. Actually, one of the best sellers is Astoria. That one's pretty popular.
Yeah.
And my newest one's actually it's already live. It's in Ashland. So. Yeah.
And so is there a central place that people go to and then you can pick your city?
Well, I wish I was a web designer, to be honest, and maybe I'll use AI for that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, it's all that Shopify stuff. They say,
well, that's what I have to do.
Oh my gosh.
I have to use those other platforms, and you're kind of dependent on those, which I don't like. I mean, I've got a Square site, and I've got, TripAdvisor, but you're kind of dependent on them.
Right.
So, I mean, if I could get around that,
Okay, so enlighten me. How would people find out about an Astoria scavenger hunt?
So probably what they do, and of course this is just me guessing to be honest, they get on TripAdvisor, Expedia, one of those or one of those platforms like that, and they type in maybe fun things to do or things to do in Astoria, or maybe even scavenger hunts in Astoria, and mine pops up. And they see it, they sign up, they tell me the date they want, and that morning I send them the clues and the kind of the instructions.
Right.
And I give them like this little digital certificate if they find a certain amount. Yeah. But I encourage them to send me like pictures of where they've been, like selfies and stuff. So I've got a lot of pictures of people just all over, doing crazy stuff,
Man, you are badly in need of a website. And otherwise, as you're just telling me this, I'm like, oh my God, there is a very profitable digital business in there.
I guess I'm too cheap.
Tied into your Instagram, and plus you could travel around Oregon and do them all. Yeah. And get some special prize.
I would love to have like just the ultimate scavenger Oregon, or just Central Oregon in general, and have just kind of like a Amazing Race, something like that.
Or you've already got Ashland, Astoria, Bend, Redmond. You're on your way, man.
Just McMinnville.
go visit Pendleton.
Yeah, you have to find kind of those, I guess, medium-sized cities at least. Yeah, right. Like some of them are just a little small. Like Pendleton's a cool little spot, but I'm not sure how well.
You're running out around the same 12 buildings, pointing stuff out.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And how long? And you've been doing that for how long?
So the first one I did was just it was 2016. It was in Memphis, and it was actually the biggest one I've had even to this day. We had a lot of sponsors and probably like 100 people do it, and I gave like a huge cash prize and everything. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun.
I mean, some of these, like, again, I was part of that publishers group looking at some of these. There's a really big one in New Orleans with
I've heard about that.
All Weekly down there, and they different bars sponsor it and liquors, and you go in there and your first one in, you get a Sazerac, and
that's quite the place to do one, right?
Right. I mean, when I was looking at it, I was like, this is awesome. We should replicate this. So.
Or maybe I could do that and just write it off.
There you go. It's a business trip. Business expense. No, it looked really fun. Well, that's kind of the end of our time together, and appreciate you coming in. If people want to find out more, we already know that it's a little bit digitally difficult. But how would they find stuff? Let's start with the book.
The book's available probably, I would say, just about every bookstore in town. Always shop at the locals first, right?
Yeah.
But Blockbuster, they sell a lot of them.
That's great.
So I got to give props to them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of little boutiques in the Old Mill and downtown that sell them. You know,
Okay.
they're pretty easy to find.
My
Yeah.
Vanna White. You know.
And then we have I've got a group on Facebook for the 100 things. You know, we've got like probably about 10,000 people on there.
Wow.
You know, kind of talks about different things, and of course, in the source.
Yeah. You got our little mini history in there.
Yeah.
That was very cool. And then if someone is an intrepid scavenger hunter,
Yeah, just look up Ultimate Scavenger in one of the cities that you might want to, especially, Bend, and you'll probably find it. TripAdvisor, Expedia. Just look up me. All that good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I'm going to start, I didn't know that was actually a thing. I'm going to start, when I start dropping into these towns, I'm going to start typing in scavenger hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's scavenger hunters out there, right? Like these are people who travel around and hunt in these towns. I mean, am I off in that if I went to Tucson, there's probably a scavenger hunt?
Oh yeah. There's a bunch of bigger companies, and of course I've done a few of those just to see how they are.
Yeah.
They don't add up. You can tell the people have probably either visited real briefly or just found some information to put on there.
Yeah.
And so
Oh, that's AI, probably AI.
could be nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me 100 weird things about this town.
Yeah.
And
they
then
just
go find
roll
them.
it on the app, but they have the advantage because they know how to program an app and build apps and websites.
They do. They got an edge.
Yeah, they have the edge there.
Well, Josh, thanks for spending a little time with us.
Anytime.
I
It's fine.
guess the next place people will interact with you is in the pages of our paper or
Sounds good.
online.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this has been the Bend Don't Break podcast. Thanks for joining. If you like what you heard, go to the website, become a member, and support us and help us bring more strange things like this book to your listening ears. And Josh, thanks for being here.
Thanks.
You've been listening to the Bend Don't Break podcast powered by The Source Weekly. To read, hear, and see more of what we do, go to bensource.com.